What I do is inconsequential. Why I do what I do is I get to shorten people's journeys every day. What I love about our hospitality industry is that it's our mission to make people feel cared for while on their journeys. Together, we'll explore what hospitality means in the built environment, in business, and in our daily lives. I'm Dan Ryan, and this is Defining Hospitality. This podcast is sponsored by Berman Falk Hospitality Group, a design-driven furniture manufacturer who specializes in custom case goods and seating for hotel guest rooms.
Aloha. Today's guest is a skilled engineer within our hospitality industry. He's a passionate leader in sustainable and green engineering with experience in developing LEED certified properties. He has over 20 years of experience working within hotel and resort engineering at companies of the likes of Marriott International and Kyo-ya Hotels and Resorts. He is the complex director of engineering at Kyo-ya Hotels and Resorts in Honolulu. Ladies and gentlemen, Harzali Hashim.
Welcome, Harzali.
Thank you, Dan.
It's so good to be here.
It's good to be here. Good to be here with you in Hawaii.
Yes, and for those of you who don't know, we're sitting here atop the Sheraton Waikiki. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see Diamond Head behind us. It's pretty magnificent. And I think the first time I met you, Harzali, was probably 15 years ago.
Yeah, it was way back when we first were working on the Moana Surfrider project.
And you were only working at the Moana Surfrider.
Correct.
You were the director of engineering there.
Correct. Just overseeing the Moana at that time.
And since that point, you're overseeing this massive complex of 4 hotels.
Actually, 6 hotels. We have the 4 here in Waikiki. We have the Sheraton Maui. And then we have the Palace in San Francisco. So 6 properties that Kyo-ya owns.
6 properties. Okay, and so you're actually overseeing San Francisco too, so mainland.
Correct.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm most struck by, because these, at least here in Waikiki, most of the hotels are very close to each other, if not bordering. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I can tell is just the level of care and attention to detail you and your 100+ engineers across the complex, at least here in Waikiki, pay to the attention to the detail and maintenance. Because when I walk in here, you guys have owned this since the 70s, early 70s.
Right.
It's been built, I don't know when it was built.
I think the Sheraton Waikiki was built, started in 68, so it got finished in 71. And that's when Kyo-ya owned the hotel. So a lot of the other properties, like we have the Moana Surfrider, that was built in 1901, the first phase there of the Moana. So that's 125 years old. We have the Royal, which in a couple of years is going to be 100 years old. And then the Palace in San Francisco is 150 years old. So we have some properties with some age to them, but our team and our ownership group commit to holding the properties and making them look their best.
And they really do. And I can say there's many hotel companies out. There's a whole spectrum of hotel ownership groups, mm-hmm. some of which are buying and repositioning and flipping, so on a spectrum. And they might go for that lipstick on a pig sort of thing. And then on the other side, at the other end of the spectrum, I would say there's people like you and Kyo-ya, where just from, I assume, the top down, the level of maintenance, but also keeping everything fresh. But once the renovation happens, the level of maintenance and attention to detail is not just with you engineering and housekeeping. I get the feeling it's everyone in the entire property.
It's true. I mean, Kyo-ya really want the hotels to look their best as they come out of renovation, but knowing that they are putting in significant funding into a project, more so than some other people may do, they want to make sure that the hotel is being maintained by engineering, by housekeeping, by all the other associates that work within the hotel, so that they can keep it looking its best for years to come.
And in the beginning of each of these podcasts, I ask everyone how you define hospitality, or what does hospitality mean to you? But I'm sure that from Kyo-ya as a large organization mm-hmm. to your definition of hospitality, it must closely align as well as with everyone else throughout all the properties. So tell me about your feelings on hospitality and how that kind of the overarching idea of it applies to you, all of your teams, but also Kyo-ya as a parent company.
I mean, when I started 20 years ago, I didn't really think I didn't really think much of hospitality in terms of what it meant to me. 20 years later, being in the industry for so long, I really look at hospitality as us creating experiences for our guests, especially here in Hawaii. We are a very isolated island. People spend a lot of money to come here, whether it be airfare or to stay at one of our beautiful properties. So we want to create that experience, and that experience is created through the environment that we give them, we produce for them, and then also the service that our associates provide to them. So that creates these memories. It creates an escape for them from their normal everyday. I mean, you think if you live somewhere in the middle of the US and you're now coming to this tropical destination, whereas you can see out the windows, you have these beautiful mountains, you have the ocean, it's something that's very different to where you're from. So we want to make sure we're creating those experiences, and not just the natural environment, but also with the hotel rooms that they stay at, the public areas that we have at our properties, the landscaping, the pools that we provide to them, and then piggyback on top of that with the experience, the service that the guests provide to them, which helps guests, if they're able to do so, keep coming back again and again.
Love it. And yeah, and I absolutely feel that here. And it's also interesting because, like, we're in the middle of Waikiki. There's thousands and thousands of rooms here. And it's really, there's not so much of a natural beauty in the sense that, like, there's a park over there, but it's like you're in a city pretty much, right? It's very dense. You have Diamond Head over there. But I do get the feeling of just this serenity and calmness when I go from this property, which has 1,600 rooms, to the Royal, to the Westin Moana, and then the Halekulani is there, which is not part of you. But again, it's like this vibe of serenity in a very bustling place.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I realized when I first started at the Moana. You have busy Kalakaua Avenue with 3, 4 lanes of traffic going by. So you come in, you arrive in the Portico Share. It's very noisy. There's a lot of stuff going around, people grabbing luggage. You walk in.
Uber driver was beeping.
Yeah, exactly.
Get out of the way.
You walk into the lobby, it starts calming down a little bit, but you can still hear the street noise. But then as soon as you walk into the banyan courtyard, all that street noise disappears. You're there with this huge banyan tree that's been there over 100 years, over 125 years. You have the beach bar there, and then you start hearing the waves, and you see people on the beach. All of a sudden, you're transformed to, I'm not in a city, I'm in a resort. So that's what I always took me by surprise when I first started working at the Moana. And with all our properties, the Royal is the same. It's set back off of Kalakaua. You go in there, you have these beautiful gardens, you walk into this beautiful historic property, and it's really something to behold.
So creating this experience of escape for guests, and you mentioned the banyan tree. And for me, I had a very pivotal moment in my life at the banyan tree, under the banyan tree in the Moana Surfrider. And I think I told you about this, right?
I think so. I can't.
So it was when I was doing the furniture there, I met with John Staub, who was the designer at Philpotts, and we had a drink under there after I was awarded it. And he was telling me how it's really important to escape and unplug, and how he, twice a year for like a month or something, he would unplug. And I started having a panic attack. It's like, how do you do that? And he's like, I have a great team. And I was like, wow. He's like, you should do it. And I was like, there's no way. I'm connected 24/7. I can't get. Anyway, I had a trip coming up over July 4th. And he said, well, why not just take that 1 week and don't touch your phone or computer? I said, really? So I went with my family to New Hampshire. I didn't touch my phone or computer. I woke up on a Wednesday, complete panic attack. But I breathed through it, and then every year I'd done it since then, until the pandemic. Now I do it in smaller bursts. But time slowed down for me, right? So I had this incredible escape from that property and from John's experience. And then I sent him all these letters. Like, I sent him a postcard, a handwritten one, and when I plugged back in, I emailed him, no response. And then I came to Honolulu in that August, so it was July to August, and then I heard he had some health issues. And then I was like, shit. So then fast forward to a trade show somewhere. I think it was in Las Vegas, but I don't remember. I saw him, he was on like a scooter, and he said, I got all your letters, I've been busy, like in his funny way. And then he said, now you see why it's so important to just escape and unplug. And it really, I mean, that was just like a real shock to me. But my experience was like this light switch of escape in a different way, right? And you said earlier in our conversation, if I asked you 20 years ago what your definition of hospitality is or was, you might not have thought about it, right? You were just doing your job at this awesome organization. Was there a light switch moment for you over your career, or was it a slow evolution?
I think it was a slow evolution. Again, when I was first starting, not having been in the hospitality industry, I still didn't fully understand what our premise was to provide to our guests. So as we started getting into it, and as our brand started evolving from back when we were Starwood and into Marriott, we started seeing how we need to create these experiences for our guests. And as I thought back in my own head, yes, these experiences are important. Scents, music, sights. These are things that we think of that connect us to a place, connect us to a time. So that's when I started realizing, hospitality really is about creating experiences, because you can spend a bunch of money and you can see some stuff. You can go to Disneyland and go on the rides, but it's actually those emotional experiences and connections that you make that 20 years, 30 years from now, people think back on. They'll hear a song, they'll see something that'll remind them of, 20 years ago, I was with my family, we were sitting on the beach in Honolulu, and we had Diamond Head behind us. So they're like really the things that we want to try and create.
And Diamond Head is like a timestamp or a memory stamp. It really is there. It's like this magical bookend that's like looking down over us.
It looks fake, but it's really there.
I know, it's really there. So one of the things that I find interesting about my experience with you, no disrespect to other operations, whether it's housekeeping or engineering at many other hotels, if I were to, in the course of doing a hotel renovation, if housekeeping and or engineering had a really big say in what the room would look like, it would kind of wind up looking like a veterinarian office, right? Yeah. Stainless steel, easily made, it'll last forever. It's easily maintained. One of the things that I've found that working with you over the years, and it's interesting, like you don't take that perspective, right? You have really found a really good balance. And I would say even leaning more to letting the designers do their thing, what they're great at, and offering really good feedback so all of your other stakeholders are aligned. But how did you kind of break that cycle of like a typical super functional engineer when it comes to balancing design?
I think it's probably my upbringing. Before I got into the hospitality industry, I was a design electrical engineer for about 7 to 10 years. So I would work with a lot of architects, a lot of interior designers, and my passion within electrical engineering was lighting. So that's very architectural, and I would love to do that. So I've kind of had a little bit of grounding in design before I went on and became a facilities engineer. So understanding the functionality of a space, functionality of FF&E, but I balance that with design and how it's meant to look. Like you don't want it to look like a veterinarian's office. You don't want it to look like something that's very commercial, but it needs to act commercial, but still look like it's residential.
And when you're starting a project with all the stakeholders for doing a renovation, and let's say it's a design firm you maybe have not worked with before, and they see that you have a big say in what's happening, do they get a little apprehensive, or how do you set the table to know that I'm not your typical engineer?
Well, it's been easier here in Honolulu because a lot of people that we work with are people that I've known from back when I was a designer, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Harzali, good to work with you again," but in a different realm. So it's been a little bit easier here as we look at other projects. I think it's just more just having that casual conversation with them, getting to know them. That's what I like to do. I like to get to know the people that I'm working with and not just make it a business transaction, so that I can fully understand where they're coming from, and if we need to have those hard conversations, we can actually have those hard conversations without it being too awkward.
And is there a time when you're kind of setting up those teams where there's like a light bulb, or like how do you know when you have that mix just right?
I don't know. It's a hard question. I think, you just kind of get a feel when you're going through the bidding process and you have the interviews with the architects and interior designers. You get a sense that these people will work in the space and on the project, and they'll actually do it justice. So especially here in Hawaii, with the properties that we have, as well as in San Francisco, every place is a little bit iconic, and it has something to the building, something to the area that make it special. And having our design team look at the area, look at the building, and incorporate that into the design is very important. And that's what we look at when we do these interviews with the designers.
You said something interesting to me earlier today when we were walking around. So we're talking about, like we've just been speaking about what the guest experience is and how you tee all that up. But you were also mentioning how, and this probably comes from an ownership level, as far as the level of maintenance and the obsessiveness of just keeping everything fresh and new. You were saying to your teams that this Kyo-ya invests so heavily in what's actually behind the walls too, that the guests don't see. So explain what you mean by that. And then how does that also drive what the guest experience is ultimately?
Well, traditionally, and like we've spoken about earlier, ownership groups like to just come in, paint the pig, make it look good, flip the property. Kyo-ya really invest in their properties. They've had them for over 60 years, and they'll invest in items such as life safety or infrastructure, which from an engineering point of view is great for us. These things always fail when you least expect it, overnight, on the weekend, when nobody's around. And if they're behind a wall or above a ceiling, it's really hard to get to. So as we're doing these renovations, as we're opening up walls, we like to take a look at the infrastructure and see what we can do to improve it. So the fact that our ownership group invests in that makes our job easier and helps us keep the property looking its best. And again, they're not the sexy things. They're not these high touch point things that the guests will see. But if those things fail, then the guests will know about it. Then we'll hear about it, and then we'll have to compensate, which is something that we don't want to do.
And then Kyo-ya, as far as the management company of all of these assets, is a subsidiary of a Japanese company.
Correct.
And the Japanese company, the ownership, is here frequently, infrequently. And
so we have Kyo-ya, which is the management company. They're officed here in the Sheraton Waikiki, and they have a good relationship with the hotels, with the associates in the hotels, and they tour the properties on a regular basis. So they're very in touch with how the hotels look. We do have our owner from the ownership group in Japan, and he comes and visits us every month. So
every single month.
Every month. He'll either come here or he'll spend time at the San Francisco property, the Palace, and he'll meet with the Kyo-ya team just to see what's going on, review budgets, review any upcoming larger projects.
And it's not an asset manager, it's the owner.
Correct.
So that is super unusual too. And I would imagine that in many other cases, an asset manager or an owner will come into a property, generally speaking, and there's a big mad rush to get everything looking just great. But here, it's kind of baked into, it's like those are table stakes.
Correct.
How much do you think that level of pride and kind of hands-on approach affects the overall organization and how many thousand rooms between all of them?
We have just under 5,000 rooms between all 6 properties. Yeah.
That's unbelievable. And do you think that that's a heavy contributor to the overall culture and like obsessiveness over how well everything is maintained?
I believe so. I mean, they're seeing the properties on a regular level, and It's not something that's a snapshot where they're coming in for 2 days every month and saying, "Oh, this is what the property looks like. This is must be what it looks like year round." So they get a good sense of what the property looks like. And the best part about the Kyo-ya team is they entrust the directors of engineering at each property to be the ones responsible for caring for the property and looking after it. So they provide us with that trust that we will look after, and we do our best to make sure that everything looks really good.
One other thing I appreciate about Hawaii, among so many things, but as far as like in the work realm, like what in our vocation, is this idea of the coconut wireless. Can you let the listeners know what the coconut wireless is and how that, I think it actually benefits our industry as a whole because it keeps everyone playing to the best of their ability?
The idea of coconut wireless is basically, you really can't keep a secret anywhere. It will get out. It will go around. So if there's something that's wrong at the property, it behooves the director of engineering and the team to make sure you fix it, because before you know it, somebody will find out about it, then another person will find out about it, and it will just spread like wildfire. So it's good to always fix these things and not try and keep things hidden for the sake of it. So that's the premise of the coconut wireless.
It's almost like an open source industry, a communication channel, right?
True.
It's like a Slack channel for the whole industry. And I think, and again, I don't live here. I've come here a couple times a year, but I do get the feeling that even though there's all these different hotels and we're really competing for heads and beds, there's a real sense of everyone pulling together.
True. And
in Hawaii, whether it's fires or recessions or pandemics, as a state, and observing the hospitality industry, I feel like you guys really surround and kind of band together much better than other states. Do you, like, I know you'll be biased in your response, but like, how have you seen that as a leader within the hospitality community here?
I think it's just the realization of everybody that hospitality industry is the biggest industry in Hawaii. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. As we went through COVID a few years ago and travelers stopped coming by, everybody was like, well, we need to look at something else to support hospitality. There needs to be something else to support the economy of the state, but nothing can come close to it. We have agriculture and manufacturing. There's only so much land that we have, and to do business here can get a little expensive. So hospitality is the king, and I think everybody realizes that. And we have different levels, of hotel. We have our 5-star all the way down to the lowest level. So we have a good variety of good mix here on the island. So I think there is some competitiveness in between the two. But from the engineering point of view, and through my Engineers Advisory Council group that we have through the Hawaii Lodging and Tourism Association, the engineers don't typically compete with each other. We like to share our pain and work out how we solve some of the hardships that we have and just kind of support each other. So we have a good group there.
When did that engineering advising council start?
Started about 25 years ago.
So before you got to Hawaii?
So before I got to Hawaii, it started and then kind of disbanded for a few years and then kicked up again. So I was, myself and a few others got together and we helped revive.
Oh, you rebooted it?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
We rebooted it.
Okay, so why?
It was, like I said, it was a good support system for the engineers, because at the larger properties, you usually have support of corporate to work out how to solve issues, new products that are coming out. But for some of the smaller properties that we have out there, they don't have that same support system. So it was almost like a big brother, little brother kind of system that we set up, where we're trying to impart our knowledge and then also understand from other properties how they go around solving problems. So it was a good council to put together, and each year we try and get bigger and better. And we've put together golf tournaments. We've put together community events like Build a Bike or putting in AC units into local schools, painting park benches at Kaiulani Park. So we like to give back to the community as well. And I sit on the board as the vice president of the council, and been doing that for a few years now. So yeah, it's enjoyable and it's nice working
And
with.
is it open to all engineers, or is it heads of engineer, or is there mentoring? Like, how do you?
It's open to all engineers, and I mentioned the golf tournament. So that golf tournament was a scholarship golf tournament. So with that, we would provide funding for any of the engineers at any of the properties to further themselves, either learning about a new system or a new piece of equipment, or looking to better themselves to move up to the next step, to get into a chief engineer level, to get into a director of engineering level. So,
And how many members do you have now across the islands?
I'm not sure of the exact number across the islands, but we probably have about 100 people that are part of it. And we've started pulling in some of our allied members, which is some of the companies that we work with, whether they be vendors or contractors, and that helps with the mix as well.
Hey, everybody. We've been doing this podcast for over 3 years now. And one of the themes that consistently comes up is sustainability. And I'm just really proud to announce that our sponsor, Berman Falk Hospitality Group, is the first within our hospitality industry to switch to sustainable and recyclable packaging, eliminating the use of styrofoam. Please check out their impact page in the show notes for more info. Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that. And that actually just goes to show, like, within any industry or any profession within any industry, there usually are these industry groups.
Correct.
And in my experience, okay, yes, you could be a head of engineering or head of facilities, but to find a rising star within the ranks, they're out there, they're available for everyone. So what do you say to someone who's a frontline engineer, not necessarily one of your properties, but maybe, about just looking in and leaning into it a bit more?
I would encourage them. I mean, at our properties, we actually have a couple of engineering managers who were recently promoted within the last year or two, who were line associate workers, electrician, AC, mechanic, and they were able to take the step and realize that their next move was to be in the management field, and they took that plunge, and they've been very successful at it. It's definitely eye-opening for them. Instead of working 8 hours a day, they're working a little bit longer, but they feel a sense of accomplishment being responsible for more than just their trade that they oversee.
Yeah, and I recently interviewed Eileen Madigan, who's with Sands, and she goes between Vegas and Singapore. They have a lot of projects going on there, and she said something really striking to me, and on this front, it's not, people say, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? But she said it's actually, she learned from a mentor of hers, it's not what you know or who you know, but who knows you.
Sure.
Right? And I feel like these organizations are a great opportunity for people to be known by others.
It really is a great networking environment. And with the community, again, being so small here in Hawaii, it's really good to get out there and meet people and find people in the same industry, not just hospitality, but also in facilities management, and just get to chat with them and see what they do and pick their brain and see if there's anything that you can take back into your own day-to-day work that can make it a little bit more efficient.
And then, so I'm talking about this opportunity to join for younger aspiring professionals. Was there a time in your career where a mentor or just someone in passing, someone that you look up to, kind of helped turn that light on for you, much in the same way that John did for me about more inward looking stuff? But like, is there anyone along your path that turned on that switch in your brain?
Probably have to say from a negative and a positive point of view, when I was a design engineer, I had a challenging boss to work with, and I was a younger guy.
And where was that?
That was here in Honolulu. And I was in my early 20s. I was all about playing soccer and having a drink and doing a little bit of engineering on the side. But I had a challenging boss, and I always thought to myself, when I'm a boss, I don't want to do the things that he did. He would come into the office, wouldn't really say good morning, give you some stuff to do, not give you very much information on what to do, and then when you did it, it inevitably was always wrong. It wasn't what he was thinking. Well, why didn't you just tell me what you wanted? So I always took that as the what not to do's when you became a boss. So then eventually I was thrust into this role at the Moana in 2005, and went from being a design engineer to now being an engineering manager of an 800-room property overseeing 30 people. I'm like, wow, this is big. And I realized at that time, I already had some what not to do's. So I put those into play. And then from the positive side, the director of engineering that hired me from the Princess Kaiulani, he was super knowledgeable guy. He really taught me how to be a facility engineer and not to take it super serious, but know when things were important, and just to try and be an expert in facilities management. Because again, I really only understood electrical coming in to look at the full gamut. And not having turned a wrench myself, except for home projects, I think 20 years on, I think I could say that I've excelled at doing this without having been a hands-on tools kind of a guy.
One of the things that we all have to do in the course of our vocation and life is just adapt to changing circumstances. And I know across the street is the PK, or the Princess Kaiulani, which was this master plan, demolish, build a new tower. And it was for years and years, it was always the plan. COVID happens, things change. And on the road to whatever was going to happen, the property was like not performing as well as it should. And you're like, okay, we have to do something now. The whole plan changed. Let's approach this project a little bit differently. And I've really been thinking about how to accelerate the cycle of what we do at Berman Falk. And really it applies to any kind of long lead custom project. But you, I think, were instrumental in saying, okay, like we have to approach this differently. Let's do a design build kind of situation and see how quickly we can get this going. What was interesting to me is that as like a data point in kind of how my evolution of thinking of how to get things done. What was really interesting is that you lined up all the stakeholders, got it going, but then through honest communication, open communication, like I got my phone rang from someone at Marriott. They're like, are you sure? Like, this is like, if they're going backwards. And I was like, no, I think they got it. We're going to make this thing happen. And we kind of put the cart in front of the horse on that one.
Right.
And it turned out to be incredibly successful. But by communicating with all the stakeholders, even the ones who were more concerned, it kind of reduced any kind of fear that people might have had. But also from the time that you guys said go to the time that it opened, I think it was probably record time for any project that you worked on. So how did your thinking about a project change as far as like circumstances change and putting the cart in front of the horse? That's a hard thing to do. Like, what was your thought process around that? Because I think we all do, and I'm teeing this up in a way that like we all do things a certain way.
Right.
And that's the industry, how we do it. That's how my grandmother would cook a pot roast, right? She did it a certain way, but it wasn't necessarily the right way. She cooked it that way because her oven was small, right? And so she cut it in half. But like, how did you approach that, and what was the evolution in your thinking?
Yeah, I think projects are always done a certain way, especially with our ownership group and here at the hotels. Whether it be a large project, we would always get a third-party project manager in. They would set things up. We would do interviews with designers. We'd get a design together, then go out to bid for contractors and get them in. It'd be a process. This one was a little bit different because they said, we have this money. We want to be as efficient with this money as possible. So that kind of means not having a project manager. We want you to be the project manager. So I'm like, okay, I'll add this on top of it.
But that also increases the odds of like a train wreck,
Correct,
too, right?
Correct. And that added to my every day of also being the director of engineering at the Sheraton Waikiki, and now I'm looking after the Princess Kaiulani. But I think having that role on this project helped, because then I said to myself, well, I really only want to work with people that are good, obviously, and people that I can easily, like you mentioned, I can have those conversations with. When you don't know somebody as well, it's hard to have those conversations, and that's why we put the design team that we had in place. We got a contractor involved, and that contractor was selected because of the certain contractors that they have. So if something wasn't going right, I could just go directly to that subcontractor and say, hey, we need to tighten up on this. Let's push this forward. So I want to say it was planned that way, but it wasn't really formulated like that in my head. But it all really just came together, from the design to the contractor. And even after the project was done, our marketing team came in and did an amazing job by realizing we had an all-female design team. We had a female artwork team. And then some of the local fabrics that we have came from a local female designer. And they put that all together and they created this marketing campaign, all based around International Women's Week. So it just, from the start of the project all the way through to finish and the marketing of the project, it just really came together really well, and is probably a blueprint for projects that we want going ahead. Ownership did tell me that, oh, you renovated the rooms for this much. We would like you to do that. I said, no, it was a one and done, and done. But it was really, really fun at the time, and to see what it is now, and just see what the room looked like before and what the room looked like after. It was amazing. It was a bumpy process along the way, but a lot of great learnings from everybody involved on how to make this project so successful.
And how much time, if you were to have, from the time that you said go to do that, and you went the normal process to the way that you did it with the cart in front of the horse, how much time do you think you saved? Because in my math, to renovate a project from the time that an ownership group says go usually takes about 1.5 years, plus or minus 2 or 3 months. With this way, how long do you think it took?
I think we probably saved 6 months in the whole project. Yeah,
and that is just so meaningful when you think about, if you run it the normal way, it's you run it in a way to really send things out to bid, manage your costs, like get the best possible pricing. I understand that, but to save 6 months and to get that rate bump 6 months faster to market,
right.
It's like you're generating 5 to 10x whatever you would have saved going the normal way in faster revenue to the property.
Yeah, that's true. It was definitely faster than I anticipated it to be, but it worked out really, really well.
But also when you go that quickly, and I really liked how you said, well, you didn't say it this way, but it's working with more people that you know, like, and trust, because you're increasing the odds of a problem or a challenge, and you really want to assemble a team that got your back.
Correct. And again, people that you're just comfortable working with, you're comfortable having a conversation with, and that they can just make things happen, which is really good without forcing people to do things and cut corners. I think that was the important thing. We were still designing and constructing in a way that wasn't going to undervalue the final product.
I loved how the timing coincided with International Women's Week.
Yeah.
And that also got me thinking about your commitment to sustainability and just being mindful of the community, the global, the local. Hotels consume a lot of power. They generate a ton of waste. I interviewed a hotel developer a year or two ago, who did this Hotel Marceau. It's the first passive house hotel in the United States. 0 emission, like from the induction stoves to, the shuttle that would take you to the train station was battery operated. There's a spectrum of developers or hotel owners from who believes that because hotels spend more on CapEx, capital expenditures, than any other real estate asset class, if hotels really committed to it, they could be carbon neutral, all hotels, within 10 years, right? That's one end of the spectrum. Then there's the other end of the spectrum that says there's no way, that was like a unicorn deal, that can never happen. But then there's in the middle and somewhere shaded towards that way. I think hotels and hospitality has an opportunity because of the guests coming and the impact and the escape and the story that you tell these guests to kind of be the vanguard of thinking about sustainability from a different way. Mm-hmm. I started off by introducing you as someone who's committed to sustainability. Like, how does sustainability factor into these master plan projects, and what does it mean to you? Why is it important to you?
Sustainability, I've kind of had it in my blood since my design days. When I was designing, we would work on these lead sustainable projects. We worked on a project on the Big Island where we utilized the deep ocean seawater to help passively cool a building, so there was no actual mechanical moving components. All we were doing was pumping water through tubes, and the natural airflow would flow through these and cool the space. So that was one of the more cooler projects that we
pun intended
that we worked on. So I've been in sustainability for a while. Coming from Australia kind of takes after Europe, where they embrace climate and they try to be as sustainable as possible. So coming here to Hawaii, it's an island, limited resources, so sustainability is important here, but it's not as readily available as most places because we are an island. A lot of our waste, a lot of our recycling has to get shipped off. It can't be broken down here. There's no large manufacturing plants. So sustainability has been part of me for a while. Kyo-ya do embrace sustainability as well. They're committed to the local community, and again, like I said, being here in Hawaii, embracing the local community means being sustainable. So wherever they can be sustainable, whether it be in the products they use, equipment that's selected that uses less energy, they're all about that.
And if you were to, in your 20 years here?
20 years.
Some sustainable initiative that you've undertaken either at a property or Kyo-ya wide, what's something that you think other hoteliers could learn from? And it's like, I'm coming at this from a place of, waterfalls start with a drop of water. Mm-hmm. And I think while all of these small little efforts, when you add them up in aggregate, they're meaningful. And then when you have guests come through, more guests come through a hotel than an office building or even multifamily towers, right? There's an opportunity to impress or change someone's thinking. So what's an initiative you've taken on in your years that you're proud of?
Well, you can put in all the bells and whistles that you want into a property. You can put in the most sustainable chiller, the most energy efficient refrigeration equipment. But if the people using it don't use it how it's intended, then you don't see the savings that you meant to. So I think the biggest initiative that I'm still trying to work on is the education of our associates and also our guests. Our guests come here and a lot of them do understand sustainability from the areas that they do come from. But sometimes when you come here, or if you're working here, you're not really invested in how much energy or how much water the building uses. So guests leave, they leave the lights on, associates will leave a faucet dripping. It's really, how do we start changing the mindset of people to say, okay, I'm leaving the room, just as I would do in my own house, I got to turn off the lights. Yeah. Or an associate to say, hey, I really need to turn off the water because a dripping tap over a number of weeks, months, years can consume, tens, hundreds, thousands of gallons of water, which is, again, being on an island, we don't have unlimited water resources. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest initiative, is just being there to try and change the mindset of how our guests and our associates look at how they're using their utilities here at the hotel. We start that by getting LEED certified. So we have the Sheraton Waikiki and the Royal LEED certified, as well as the Moana Surfrider. And then there's a initiative through one of the state departments to, it's called the Green Business Program. So there's various checklists that we have to fill out on how sustainable we're being in terms of energy conservation, waste conservation, water conservation, what we're doing from an associate point of view to help perpetuate sustainability.
These hotels have been owned by Kyo-ya since, let's say, the early 70s, right? And you've converted many of these, all of them, to LEED?
Just three of the six. Yeah,
But they're the big, like,
correct. It's just Sheraton
2,000 rooms, 2,500 rooms, something like that.
It's about 3,000 rooms.
That's crazy. Okay, and then from that, the conversion must have been very difficult.
It was in a way. It was just a lot of. It was really a lot of testing, just a lot of air monitoring, because
Indoor air quality, but also consumption.
correct. Because as a whole, like I said, Kyo-ya has embraced sustainability, and they've been doing it since the early 90s. So the Sheraton Waikiki was the first hotel in Waikiki to have EV charging stations. That was done in 2011.
Wow.
So they have really embraced that. We have LEDs throughout our properties. We look to put in low flow water fixtures in all of our guest rooms and public spaces. So
One of the reasons why I was asking, I didn't realize that. Bad research by me. Apologies. But what's exciting about that is so much of this, and a hotel it's an operating real estate asset. But part of Bruce, who was the guy that did the hotel in New Haven, that was the first passive house, hotel owners are obviously driven by bottom line. And sometimes you have to make this change in investment to benefit the bottom line. Do you have any, I'm sure you don't have the data right now because I didn't ask you to research it, but like a before converting to a LEED certified building and all the changes that you had to do, is there a kind of a before and after net positive to the bottom line? And is there a way to measure that?
I think the easiest way to measure that is through the utility bills. And again, I hadn't looked at it, but as I said, we've been doing these things over a period of time. So as we start to look at getting LEED certified, we've already put all these things in place. So it's not, okay, this is where you stand. Now you need to do all these things to become LEED certified. So what's the benefit at the end? I think we've already been doing it, and we've seen over the years how our utility costs have come down, and we're measured by Marriott to make sure that we're also going to hit our net zero goals by 2050. So each year we have a certain reduction goal in our energy and our water usage, which we need to hit. So we're always looking for these little things to try and save and put in new pieces of equipment, train our staff, train our associates to make sure that they understand how to work this equipment and thereby save water and utilities.
Much in the same way that a boss of yours along your career showed you how to not do things. Right. I find that oftentimes, like when things blow up, so let's say that experience showed you, I don't want to be like that, I want to be this way. And it helped you evolve as a person and a manager and a leader. In the course of doing projects, we learn the most from when the things go off the rails. In your career being here, what off the rails snafu did you learn the most from, and why? Or are there too many to think of?
No, I don't think too many projects run off the rails that badly. I think the biggest thing, the biggest issue we have here is just understanding how long it takes for things to get here, because you have the manufacturing time, and then you have the time it takes to get from whether it be Asia or Europe or even the mainland to Hawaii. So they're the things that we need to start incorporating. One interesting thing that I did learn, I learned early on in my hospitality career, was COM fabric. I did not understand COM fabric.
And that's COM, customer's own material, for those of you who don't know.
And that is...
It adds months.
Yeah, you order it, and you have to get it sent to some random factory, and
to get coated and fire protected. And,
never understood that. So that was probably that was more educational lesson for myself in terms of adding that lead time to a project. But yeah, I think nothing really goes off the rails apart from it always comes down to shipping at the end of the day, because you can plan things out and then things just happen. Like, especially when we're getting stuff from Asia, it could have 2 stops before it gets to Hawaii. And we've experienced in other projects, containers just get left on the port and suddenly don't make a ship. And then all of a sudden, you're 2 days to maybe even a week behind schedule on when the furniture is meant to come here. And if you got a really tight schedule, that can push things back. And as you're pushing things back, that all just means lost room revenue, especially if you're doing
And
guest
extra
room
cost because
renovation.
people were just sitting around that were supposed to be working.
Correct.
So 20 plus years in, living here in Hawaii, working on some amazing projects here and in the mainland, being a leader on your industry group, looking at all of this, what's exciting you most about the future?
I think just the upcoming renovations that we have, just really refreshing the product. I've been through 2 cycles now of our product, and it's nice just being there to refresh it. And it's still the same hotels. The hotels have their own aura to them. People stay at the different hotels. I mean, even when you look at the Moana Surfrider, you have the historic wing, you have a modern tower, you have one that's more like a business hotel, but it's all one hotel. It's like 3 hotels in one. But people like to stay in different parts of it, and just for them to come back and stay in the different areas and see how they've been renovated. Still the same room, still the same size. We're not changing the size of the room. We're just changing the look and feel. That's what I like. It just keeps guests coming back for more.
Yeah, I always know I'm getting old because I'm coming up on some where it's like the 3rd renovation.
Yeah.
It's like 3 turns of the zodiac.
I know.
Ugh. Another day. If people wanted to learn more about these awesome properties with Kyo-ya or you, what's a good way for them to get in touch or learn more?
Best way is just to go to our hotel's websites. You can get them just Google or whatever search engine you use. Just type in the names: Sheraton Waikiki, Royal Hawaiian, Moana Surfrider, Princess Kaiulani, the Sheraton Maui, or the Palace. And that's how you can learn about our properties, and you can learn a little bit more about Kyo-ya. And there's a little bit of a sustainability blurb on those websites as well. If you want to learn more about me, just hit me up on LinkedIn or Instagram, and
Great.
I'll be there.
And then the Engineering Advising Council, is there a website or a landing page for that, or just
Yeah.
should
So
any engineers listening just reach out?
totally.
On LinkedIn or something.
They can go reach out on LinkedIn first, but it is through the Hawaii Lodging and Tourism Association, HLTA, and we have a link there to the Engineers Advisory Council, and we have our website there. We talk about what functions we do, what events we do, and then
Awesome.
get involved.
Thank you for doing this. Like, I've loved our relationship and the projects that we've gotten through. I appreciate your calm demeanor. There's so many projects I work on in my life where it's always a challenge. Things are always moving. And when things kind of get a little bit dicey, there's the screamers, and then there's the patient, just get it done.
Yeah.
I'll support you. And you're in that camp for me. And for all of us, I just really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate our friendship, and we have a good laugh. We have a few drinks, and it's always been great. And I love this industry. 20 years on, again, going to college and coming out with an engineering degree, never thought I'd be working in a hotel. So I do love this industry.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I got a few more years in me, I think.
Good. Yeah, you got to make it to that 3rd renovation.
That's true. That's true.
Mahalo, everyone. Thank you.
Appreciate it. No, thank you for your time, and let's go have a drink.
And thanks for the view.
No,
and,
no problem.
And for all of you, if this has helped you evolve your thinking on hospitality or how things get done, or mentoring or joining industry groups, or you think someone could benefit from this, please pass it along to them. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mahalo.